Man holds out his finger to keep it vibrating at high speed, then insert it into the cup. A few seconds later, a glass of juice is freshly made. He used to be the fastest man in the world. Now only one finger remains with his powers. 30 years ago, Jack was the leader of a superpowered war team, led his team to protect the world. The military tried to use gamma radiation to enhance the powers of the superhumans, but instead, the excess radiation. The Shockers have become the evil side. The team paid a very high price. He was finally sealed in the other dimension. Jack was also severely injured in the battle. His powers have deteriorated significantly. He now lives by repairing cars. Researchers at the military base have detected unusual spatial fluctuations. This indicates that the Shocker is trying to open a dimensional rift to return to Earth. The general was informed of the situation and immediately ordered the reorganization of the super combat team. 3 hours later, the researcher found Jack, inviting him to train the new team. As expected, Jack was reluctant and uncooperative. The researcher was prepared to take out his tranquilizer gun and shoot him down with a shot of tranquilizer. On the other side, 6-year-old Cindy had just gotten Halloween candy from a neighbor's house. A hooligan on the side of the road came up and grabbed it. Cindy threw him into a tree in a fit of rage. In the canteen, the blonde was cut in line by 3 girls. They tease her about being a freak. The next thing they know, they're covered in salad dressing. In the classroom, the schoolboy is called to the board by the teacher to answer a question. His body gradually becomes illuminated. Eventually there was only a small shadow left. The class is stunned by what they see, but the student himself knows nothing of this. By the pool, Fatty is standing on the 3-meter diving platform. His friends in the water laugh at him for being a fat pig. At the very moment when Fatty jumped, his buttocks become almost as big as the pool. The huge splash of water knocked him right over. The water in the pool almost dries up. Only a shallow layer of deep water remained. When Jack woke up again, he was in the military base. After a lot of coercion from the researcher, Jack finally agreed to train a new team of supermen. There were now 10 young superhumans waiting outside for him to be interviewed. The first kid has the ability to blink rapidly. Apparently, it's useless in combat. Jack eliminates him straight away. Next up is the schoolboy. His invisibility caught Jack's eye. Pass. Next up is Blondie. Her ability to control things with her mind. She has a lot of room to grow. Straight through. Cindy at the back says her superpower is singing, but Jack says she can't sing very well. Cindy was so angry that she grabbed the table and threw it a few meters. Next up is Fatty. His superpower is definitely the weirdest of the 10. Boy makes his head as big as a water tank. His superpower was to make any part of his body bigger at will. The examiner passed him straight away, except for the blinking, farting, and other useless superpowers. Only 4 people passed the test. Now it's up to them to defend the Earth. But none of the 4 kids would agree with each other. They're always arguing when they see each other. Jack had to give them special training to turn them into a super team sooner rather than later. After all, the Shockers don't have much time left on Earth. In the training room, Cindy lifts a 5-ton rock with ease. Jack, who was recording the data above, began to spit. Cindy throws the boulder in the air. Next, Jack refined the blonde's psychic powers. He then further enhanced Schoolboy's ability to eat and drink. He was now invisible and completely transparent. He is now completely invisible and cannot be located by the naked eye. But Fatty's training is at a standstill. He hid in the observation room and wouldn't come out. The female examiner calms him down. Jack spat again. The angry Fatty instantly grows huge. He's squeezed against the glass and can't move. At the end of the week's training, all the data showed that, for children subconsciously repressed the full range of manipulative abilities. They hadn't reached the limits of their abilities yet, so Jack took them out for a break, and sure enough, the kids came back in a good mood. Their superpowers had improved dramatically. In the training room, the 4 of them have achieved perfect coordination. The control room button can be closed without any damage. In the individual training sessions, Schoolboy has been able to cloak other objects. Jack has also developed a new superpower, willful vision. He can now see behind obstacles. Cindy can now accurately throw heavy objects into the bull's eye. Fatty can zoom in on any part of his body as he pleases. Blondie can also manipulate larger and heavier objects. The 4 little superpowers are now able to use their powers proficiently. They have met all the criteria for the test. Jack is giving them a graduation party. Suddenly, an alarm goes off at the base. The Shocker is about to break out of its seal. A woman suddenly turns around. She uses her powers to blow away 2 soldiers. It turns out she is also a psychic. 1 hour ago, the military base discovers that the Shocker is about to open a dimensional rift and return to Earth. The general immediately gathered a new team of supernatural warriors to capture the Shocker. But he was worried that the team wasn't strong enough, so he wanted to use a large amount of added radiation to enhance their powers. But 30 years ago, that's how they created the Shockers. The general put Jack into solitary confinement. Who was in the way? Then he had the soldiers bring in the superpowers. The schoolboy and Fatty see the right time and instantly settle the remaining soldiers. The 5 of them arrive in the cell. Cindy sends a punch through the door to rescue Jack. Meanwhile, an eerie red ball of light appears in the basin. After a wave, a man with red glasses falls out of it. He is the evil Shocker, with the most powerful superpowers ever invented. He can easily destroy tens of thousands of people in the armed forces. On the other side, Jack takes his team of superpowered warriors aboard the UFO. He managed to get out of the base before the general closed the hatch. He quickly makes his way to the place where the dimensional rift appeared. Jack walks up alone, hoping to persuade this former teammate to return. He failed. Shocker raises his hand and sends him flying. The Shocker is about to take Jack out. The Ultras appear just in time, before they can do anything. The army has launched a nanobinding net at Shocker. The Shocker's hand is a shockwave. The nanobonding net bounced off Cindy. She was about to be killed. Jack suddenly regained his powers in the heat of the moment. Cindy was saved in an instant. At the same time, Shocker raises his hand and sends a powerful shockwave. The army was attacked indiscriminately. Jack unleashes his powers. He swept across the plains and mountains at breakneck speed and returned to base. By the time he reappears, he is in his special battle suit. The next moment, the group split up as planned. Cindy pulls out the dozens of meters of signal poles and stands by. Schoolboy used their stealth powers to beat up the Shocker. Blondie controls the rock and attacks. Fatty sees his chance and bounces him off his stomach. Cindy, who was ready for the attack, sends him towards Jack's spot. Jack unleashes his most powerful move, the Fire Dance Whirlwind. The Shocker is trapped in a deadly grip. The next moment, the mouth of the whirlwind closes. A huge force slams into the Shocker. The whirlwind dissipates. The stunned Shocker opens his eyes. Now he has finally come to his senses, and so the crisis is averted. 3 months later, the young Supermen return to their normal lives, but as soon as they are called to task, they quickly transform into a super team. Save the world in a flying saucer.